Hello, hello, hello. Let me see here. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? I know y'all probably don't even feel like reading going through no court document. And I read some of this. It is a little boring. Dang, is it raining? But I figure, let's look it over since I am able to retrieve the document. And I don't think I had seen anyone really just put it out there other than maybe a quick snippet. You know how folks don't like to, because they don't want you to get it. They want you to go get it yourself and all that. You know how some folks are, but I don't care. So let's see. Cardi B, it came out, a couple of weeks ago that Cardi B was suing Tasha K's husband for allegedly hiding funds after their settlement a couple of years ago, where Cardi B sued Tasha K for, I guess, defamation or saying she may have had something that she didn't have. And either way, it was proven to be false, I guess. And Cardi B won a lawsuit of a couple of $1 million. And Tasha K has been on a payment plan. And I don't know if they signed something where Tasha K was supposed to not talk about Cardi B anymore. I think that is she didn't like. I don't think she specifically mentioned Cardi B's name, but she was talking about her husband Offset and Stefan all the time, and just people around, like a woman that was supposedly Stefan's friend at Christmas and the Super Bowl time, and the woman was at the game with the mama, and it was just, it was still related to Cardi, and I guess Cardi got tired of it, so she went back to court to say Tasha K was still talking about her and breaching the deal or something like that. And then comes this bombshell. She's suing the husband, saying that he hid a bunch of money after they settled so she wouldn't, have to pay her that type of money. They was hiding funds, allegedly. So let's see what some of this says. And all of this is under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. I own this document. I paid for it. Okay. Hey Queen, how you doing? Thank you for speaking. I do appreciate it. We're just gonna read a little bit of this document, honey. I know it can be boring. It's been a minute since I haven't really done this since the Tim Norman trial. So I reckon I can still read. I'm gonna give it the old college girl try. Yellen Entertainment LLC. Florida Limited Liability Company, and so the plaintiff, okay, Bellicus Marlinus Amazar. I don't know, as an individual. What's Cardi B's real name? I don't even know her real name. Versus Yellen Entertainment LLC Limited Liability Corporation. And Tasha's husband is Chekna Kibi. Complaint and demand for jury trial. They want a jury trial. Okay. Through an undersigned counsel sues defendants. Yellen, a Florida company, C. Kibi, and together with Yellen defendants. Nature of action. This is an action by a judgment creditor to recover on two related but legally distinct judgments entered against debtor Latasha Transrena Kibi. Latasha Transrena. That's her middle name. Tasha K. I guess K for Kibi, maybe? Yeah. Tasha K. Debtor and her former business entity, Kibi Studios, by reaching assets that defendants fraudulently received, concealed, or diverted from Mrs. Almazar's reach. I guess that is Carter's name. Almazar. This action is filed pursuant to and consistent with the confirmation order. Interesting. Okay. Page 2. It says, entered into bankruptcy case of Latasha Transrena Kibi which expressly preserves Ms. Almazar's right to commence this action against non-debtor third-party insiders and their affiliates, including Yellen and Kibi, for the purpose of avoiding the expiration of applicable status of repose, which authorizes the filing of this action, notwithstanding any stay or injunction arising from the bankruptcy case. Consistent with the confirmation order, Ms. Almazar files this action to preserve her claims against defendants and upon obtaining further relief from the bankruptcy court. So Cardi is pretty much saying that Tasha's husband hid some money and, they didn't file bankruptcy or whatever, and she wanted money. Okay. Further relief from the bankruptcy court authorizing adjudication. She intends to prosecute this action to final judgment. Defamation action and judgment for plaintiff. As a result of the debtor's unabated and multi-year long campaign to harm the plaintiff, Cardi says Tasha has been on a multi-year long campaign to harm the plaintiff, filed the action and styled Bellicus Marlena's Almazar versus Latasha Transrena Kibi. Boy, they both got some long names. No wonder it's Cardi B and Tasha K. Shit. Herein, Bellicus Marlena's Almazar, herein known as Cardi B. Latasha Transrena Kibi, here as known as Tasha K. Okay. Now, and then they give you the case number. The defamation action in which plaintiff pursued claims against debtor and Kibi Studios for defamation, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional stress. Woo-wee. On January the 10th of 2022, now we in 2026, the District Court for Northern District of Georgia commenced a jury trial lasting multiple weeks. I didn't even watch that trial. And the jury ultimately found Kibi Studios and the debtor liable to the plaintiff. So they found Tasha K liable to Cardi B on each of her claims for defamation, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Cardi B say Tasha K been giving her intentional infliction of emotional distress. What's up, people? That's crazy. Tasha K slow still talking about girl. If I got sued by somebody and the judge and they told me all I had to do was shut up and don't talk about them no more, baby, you wouldn't hear a mumbling word from me, honey. Okay. All right. Why would I? Why would you keep talking? Shut the fuck up. As a result of the willful and malicious nature of their actions, the jury assessed substantial awards of general damages, punitive damages, and litigation expenses, and found debtor Kibi Studios were jointly and severely liable for these damages. On February 17th of 2022, the Georgia court entered its judgment. The original defamation action against her, docket number 206. So there's a docket probably showing the decision. In favor of the plaintiff, i.e. Cardi B, and against the debtor, Kibi Studios, aka Tasha K, a true and correct copy of the original defamation judgment is attached as Exhibit A. And I can pull that exhibit later if you want me to. I have access to it. Okay? I called my people and my people said we'll get it. No, I'm just kidding. And none of this is alleged. This is court documents, honey. This is from the damn court document section. So this is not alleged. My name might be alleged, but this ain't alleged, okay? Okay. The original defamation judgment noted the jury's award to the plaintiff of, is that $1 million for pain and suffering and or reputational injury. Reputational injury. You're messing with my reputation. You know, Cardi B, her reputation is everything. Reputational injury and $250,000 for medical expenses. The parties stipulated to reduce the jury's award of medical expenses from $250,000, okay, to $25,000. So how did we end up here? This seems like this is a good deal right now. The Georgia District Court, in its original defamation judgment, also included reference to the jury's award to the plaintiff of $1 million in punitive damages against debtor and $500,000 in punitive damages against Kibi Studios, and another $1,338,753.47 in litigation expenses against both defendants. Woo, child. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. On July 19th, the Georgia District Court entered an amended judgment in July 19th of 2022. A true and correct copy of the amended defamation judgment is attached. That's Exhibit B. I have access to that. If you need to see it, I can pull it. But I'm sure you guys have already seen it because this is old. This is from 2022. But there's been a new lawsuit filed because apparently people don't know that they need to quit talking about folks. And they may have hid some money. Now that's alleged. That hasn't been proven that they actually hid the money. That part is alleged. But the original case from 2022 isn't alleged. Okay. The Kibi Studios judgment. Kibi Studios was adjudged jointly and severely, I guess, liable with debtor for $1,025,000 in compensatory. Shit, let me get it together. Compensatory damages, pain and suffering, reputational injury, and medical expenses. And $1,338,753.47 in litigation expenses against both defendants for a total judgment against Kibi Studios of $2 million. Y'all see it. In addition, the jury awarded another $500,000 in punitive damages against Kibi Studios specifically, bringing Kibi Studios' total judgment obligation to almost $3 million, exclusive of interest. The personal judgment. All right, here we go. The debtor was adjudged jointly and severally liable with Kibi Studios for the same $1 million compensatory award and the same $1,338,000, blah, 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 blah. In litigation expenses, plus an additional $1 million in punitive damages assessed against debtor individually for a total judgment against debtor of almost $4 million, exclusive of interest, the personal judgment. The Kibi Studios judgment and the personal judgment represent a total judgment liability between them of almost $4 million, exclusive of interest, which at that time of debtor's bankruptcy filing totaled $3.9 million. Woo-wee. A true and correct copy of proof of claim number 5 filed in debtor's bankruptcy case. The amended defamation judgment also imposed a permanent injunction against debtor and Kibi Studios, prohibiting them from publishing or republishing the defamatory statements identified in the accompanying consent order. On July 29, 2022, debtor and Kibi Studios appealed the amended defamation judgment in the case by Cardi B versus Tasha K. And there's the case number. I might pull that damn case. I need to see what that said. On March 21st of 2023, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the Georgia District Court amended defamation judgment A true and correct copy mean they lost their appeal. Tasha K lost her appeal. Correct copy of the 11th Circuit Court opinion affirming that defamation judgment is attached. That's Exhibit D. Neither the Kibi Studios judgment nor the personal judgment has been satisfied, meaning they have not paid those millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Hello, everybody. Carissa, T-Bone, Queen Black, Alec. Okay. Woo, honey. Child. Debtor is currently the subject of a Chapter 11 subchapter versus bankruptcy case in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of Florida. Tasha K, case number, blah, 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 blah. The personal judgment has been accepted from discharge. The confirmation order entered in the bankruptcy case expressly preserves and authorizes Ms. Cardi B to pursue this action against non-debtor third parties, notwithstanding any stay or injunction arising from the bankruptcy case, to preserve a case of action that would otherwise be extinguished by an applicable statute of repose. Moreover, the confirmation order, there it is, provides that any such shall be limited to filing and preserving the claim or cause of action to avoid its expiration under the applicable statute of repose and shall not proceed to adjudication or enforcement without further relief from the bankruptcy court. Okay. It says here, the scheme giving rise to this action was orchestrated by the debtor and defendant Kibi, debtor's husband, Tasha K and her husband, and the co-owner and manager of the studios, defendant Kibi in concert with debtor, carried out two parallel fraudulent schemes. Woo! These attorneys know how to make stuff seem so dramatic. They saying that Tasha K and her husband carried out two parallel fraudulent schemes. Child, please. The Kibi Studios successor scheme. Following the entry of the original defamation judgment on February 17, 2022, but before the entry of the amended defamation on July 19, 2022, Kibi formed Yellen on May 31st, 2022, and caused the entire business of Kibi Studios, its operations, revenue streams, clients, management contracts, going concern value, and the services of the debtor as talent to be transferred. So they took it from Kibi and moved it to Yellen without consideration and without paying any of Kibi Studios' judgment obligations. So before they took everything, they took it all. He took everything from Tasha K and didn't pay Cardi B nothing. And he took it from Kibi and moved it to Yellen. And that's why we here. Because they say he created Yellen, took it from Kibi, where was all the money, what she was supposed to be paying Cardi B, and moved it. And caused the entire business of Kibi, its operations and revenue stream, to be transferred to Yellen without consideration and without paying any of Kibi's judgments. Kibi Studios was then dissolved. It disappeared, leaving it an empty shell with no assets from which Miss Cardi B could collect from Tasha K's judgment. Yellen is Kibi Studios. They are one in the same. So now they want it from Yellen. They've been hiding it in Yellen, allegedly. Now that's alleged. Now that's the part that's alleged. Even my name is alleged, Tasha K. Their names are alleged, Tasha K and Cardi B. That's not their real names, right? Yellen is Kibi Studios' successor in every meaningful sense and is liable for the Kibi Studios judgment and its mere continuation. Why didn't she just stay on the payment plan? Don't talk about the woman or any men she deal with. Don't talk about nothing related to that woman. I wouldn't have said nothing about her. The personal income diversion scheme. Simultaneously, Kibi took a series of steps, the husband, to render debtors' personal income and assets unavailable to satisfy the personal judgment. He rerouted the debtor's salary and earnings through Yellen's accounts in structures designed to frustrate garnishment. He removed debtor from bank accounts on which she had been authorized. He caused the debtor to cease receiving direct payment, and he accepted the transfer of debtor's interest in real property located in Georgia without consideration approximately 1 month after the original defamation. So she put everything in her husband's name like she didn't have nothing. Without consideration, approximately 1 month after the original defamation judgment was entered. Kibi has repeatedly admitted under oath that these acts were undertaken to help the debtor avoid payment of the personal judgment through garnishment. Has repeatedly admitted? He did admit that? I wouldn't admit it to shit. I'd have been like, I don't recall. Could you repeat the question? I'd have been acting like that woman that the big booty chef that sued Stefan. I'd have been like, no. Could you? I can't answer that without fully understanding. I don't understand that question. I'd have played dumb like her. Okay, Miss Cardi B brings this action for actual fraudulent transfer under Florida, blah, 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 all these statutes. Constructive fraudulent transfer under that, successor liability and mere continuations, alter ego and piercing the corporate veil, civil conspiracy and declaratory relief and imposition of a constructive trust. She seeks avoidance of the fraudulent transfers, money judgment against defendants jointly and severally in an amount sufficient to satisfy both the Kibi Studios judgment and the personal judgment, plus interest, costs, and attorney fees. The party's jurisdiction and venue. Plaintiff, Cardi B, is an individual domiciled in the state of New Jersey. She is a citizen of New Jersey for purposes, and they give you that. She is also a Grammy award-winning musical artist, songwriter, and television personality, professionally known as Cardi B. So her name is Belakis Marlenis Almanzor. Since the release of her full-length debut mixtape in 2015, Plaintiff's musical works have reached peak positions on charts in the United States, around the world, as a result of the popularity of her music. Plaintiff has tens, if not hundreds of millions of fans in the United States and around the world who follow her work and on social media profiles. Defendant Yellen Entertainment, LLC, is a Florida limited liability company with its principal place of business in Broward County, Florida, according to Yellen's tax return. Kibi is Yellen's 100% member. That's Tasha K's husband. A true and correct copy of Yellen K1 for 2022 is attached here, Exhibit E. In sworn testimony, however, Kibi, the husband, claimed his brother, Lasagna Kibi, owns 50% membership interest in Yellen and resides in Mali, Africa. Oh, now they getting slick with it. Africa. I think I would pack up and just go to Africa and be eating me some fufu and a goosey. I'd move over there and be neighbors with Eat with Q, honey. Shout out to Eat with Q. She's having a baby. No documentary evidence corroborating Lasagna's Kibi's membership interest has been produced. So they saying the brother owns 50%, but ain't nobody showed no proof. To the extent Kibi is Yellen's sole member, Yellen is a citizen of Florida. To the extent Lasana Kibi holds any membership interest, he is a citizen of a foreign state, Mali, and Yellen's citizenship includes that of a foreign national. Under either scenario, this court has subject matter jurisdiction. If Yellen is solely Florida owned, jurisdictions under, there they go, as a dispute between citizens of different states. Whew. If Yellen is a partly foreign owned jurisdiction, if Yellen is partly foreign owned, jurisdiction exists under 28 USC, all of that, those codes, as a dispute between a citizen state and a citizen of foreign state. In no event is any defendant a citizen of New Jersey, the state of plaintiff's domicile, and complete diversity exists under either scenario. Defendant C. Kibi is an individual domiciled in Broward County, Florida. He is a citizen of Florida for purposes. So her husband, defendant Kibi, or I guess the company. The court has subject matter jurisdiction pursuant to that 28 USC right there, because the matter is in controversy exceeds 75,000 exclusive of interest and costs and is between citizens of different states. Venue is proper in this district, pursuant because defendants reside in this district and a substantial part of the events and omissions giving rise to the claims herein occurred in this district. Factual background, people. Okay, we're going to get into some factual background. Let me take just a 2-minute break. Carissa said Tasha K done messed her whole life up, entire life up. She should have just stayed in Africa. I don't think she's messed it up. She just got to pay the girl off, and I would never say her damn name again. In fact, I might quit listening to rap music. I might stop watching football. I might just stop doing anything that had to do with those two. Shit. Okay. Factual background. The defamation action and original and amended defamation judgment, beginning no later than 2018, damn, and continuing through at least 2022, so 18, 19, 20, 20, 19, 20, 21, 22, that's 4 years. So it started in 2018. Through her Unwind with Tasha K social media platforms, conducted a sustained and malicious campaign of defamation against Cardi B, publishing disgusting, false, and defamatory statements to millions of followers, falsely accusing Miss Cardi B of being a prostitute. The fuck? Tasha K, no, you didn't. Having sexually transmitted diseases, engaging in debasing acts and other fabrications. I ain't know all of that. On January 14, 2022, trial commenced in the defamation action. Kibi attended the trial as the designated corporate representative of Kibi Studios. He was sworn and testified at trial in that capacity, acknowledged on record that he was the manager and half owner of Kibi. On January 25th, the jury returned a verdict in favor of Miss Cardi B against the debtor and against Tasha K and Kibi Studios, which her husband owns, allegedly 50%, and his brother, alleged. Following the verdict, the Georgia District Court, with Kibi present in the courtroom as Kibi Studios' corporate representative, specifically warned both the debtor, both Tasha K and her husband, not to transfer assets or change their financial condition to impede collection of the anticipated judgment, cautioning that transferring assets into the names of third parties. So the judge told them, don't F with the money. Because cautioning them that transferring the assets into names of third parties could subject them to also possible tort actions in the future, which would mean this kind of shit right here, I reckon. Okay, I'm not an attorney. Kibi has since testified under oath that he is smart enough to understand a warning from the judge. Did you take heed to that warning? Did y'all transfer any money? I hope not. I hope this is all just a misunderstanding. But didn't Tasha K go to Africa for a minute? On February 17th, the Georgia District Court entered the original defamation judgment, and on July 19, 2022, the Georgia District Court entered the amended defamation judgment, which was affirmed upon appeal to the 11th Circuit. Kibi Studios, the prejudgment business vehicle. Kibi Studios was a Georgia limited liability company co-owned and operated by Tasha K and her husband, Kibi. It was the primary vehicle through... Hold on, y'all. It was the primary vehicle through which debtor conducted her social media business, utilizing the Unwind with Tasha K brand across YouTube, Instagram. No, she would get. Okay. Hold up. I was reading something. I'm sorry, y'all. Corey on Instagram pinned one of my comments. Shout out to Corey on Instagram. All right. He was really disappointed that Jaden let Blueface come and do a sleepover stream, but she loves him. Okay. Unwired with Tasha K brand across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms, producing video content. Kibi Studios also managed Tasha K Live, a subscription-based streaming platform. I wonder how many members she has. Kibi served as co-owner and manager of Kibi Studios. He was responsible for day-to-day operations. Kibi is Tasha's husband. Let me take that down. Day-to-day operations, including debtors, managing her social media platforms, overseeing content production, managing independent contractors, making payroll decisions, and controlling Kibi Studios' bank accounts. He handled the financial and operational side of the business, while the debtor served as the on-camera talent and content creator. The debtor was compensated through Kibi Studios. At various times, she received W-2 wages from Kibi Studios as an employee. Debtor CPA Alicia Thomas prepared the relevant payroll records and tax filings. Kibi, so Alicia Thomas is her accountant. Kibi provided the underlying information to Ms. Thomas for that purpose. As set forth above, the amended defamation judgment against Kibi Studios totaled 2,863,753.47 in joint and several liability with debtor, plus 500,000 in punitive damages. Whew, it's a lot of money. Assessed against Kibi Studios specifically. Kibi Studios has never paid any portion of the Kibi Studios judgment. They say they ain't paying a god doggone thing. The formation of Yellen and the successor scheme. How did the scheme come about to hide the money? Okay, the question is going to be, what did Tasha K know and when did she know it? Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what they say? What did the president know and when did she know it? What did Tasha K know and when did she know it, people? That's going to be the question. The formation of Yellen and the scheme. On May 31st, 2022, approximately 4 months after the jury verdict, approximately 3 months after the entry of the original defamation judgment, and approximately 7 weeks before the entry of the amended judgment, Kibi formed the new company as a Florida limited liability company. Upon information and belief, Kibi is Yellen's sole member and manager. So they're saying based on what they've been able to find, the husband is the sole owner. If I could turn around in my seat right now like Tasha K, I would. Yellen was formed with the identical business purpose as Kibi Studios by Kibi's own sworn description. Well, damn, you telling them you did it, Kibi. Yellen is a video production company and a social media management company. Upon Yellen's formation, Yellen assumed management of Debtor's Unwind with Tasha K. Social media platforms, continued the video production business previously owned by Kibi, managed Tasha K Live, and entered into the same management arrangement with the debtor through the same personnel, Kibi, that had previously existed through Kibi Studios. So everything remained the same. Only the name changed. Although income to and through Kibi was diverted to Yellen as early as July of 2022, when the amended defamation judgment was entered, Kibi Studios was finally wound down and dissolved on April 20th of 23. Long after Kibi Studios had any income streams, Kibi has testified under oath that Kibi Studios was terminated because it wasn't being operated properly and because it had a judgment against it. No independent, legitimate business reason for the dissolution and no arm's length transactions effectuating, I said that right, to transfer of Kibi Studios business to Yellen has ever been identified. So why did y'all do it? An analysis of the income streams of Kibi Studios and Yellen exposes in real time the transfer of assets from Kibi Studios to Yellen, specifically Kibi Studios to Tasha K Live. Income shifted completely to Yellen halfway through 2022. When the amended defamation judgment was entered and Kibi Studios' YouTube income shifted completely from Kibi Studios to Yellen by September of 2022. They moved all the money from Kibi to Yellen. So Cardi B couldn't get it. Allegedly. That's what the attorneys are saying. I'm just reading the court documents. I don't know what the hell happened. See income analysis. They got an analysis of the income, Exhibit F. We could see all the income. We could look at the analysis on it. The dissolution of Kibi Studios and transfer of its business to Yellen was accomplished without Kibi Studios paying any of the judgment to Cardi B. When Kibi Studios, they took all the money and didn't give Cardi shit. When Kibi Studios was dissolved, it had no assets in which to satisfy. It had no assets with which to satisfy the Kibi Studios judgment because those assets, including the going concerned value of his business operations had been transferred to Yellen. Yellen received the full benefit of Kibi Studios revenue generating business without assuming any of Kibi Studios' judgment. They got all the money, but not all of the bills that came with it and the judgments. Any of Kibi Studios' judgment obligations and without paying any consideration therefore. Yellen stepped directly into Kibi Studios' shoes in every operational respect. It assumed management of the same social media platforms, served the same client, Tasha K, performed the same services, content production, platform management, talent management, collected management fees from the same revenue streams, and employed many of the same independent contractors. There was no gap in operations. Kibi, the husband, managed both entities and personally executed the transition from one to the other. Interesting. Yellen's management arrangement with the debtor was never reduced to writing, and Kibi has been unable to identify in sworn testimony a single written term of any agreement between them. Despite that, he confirmed that he managed the debtor's platforms full-time and structured his compensation by deducting management fees from the debtor's revenue before remitting the balance. I deduct my fees and then whatever is left, she gets. The arrangement is functionally identical to what Kibi Studios did before it was dissolved. So he just take what he want, pretty much is what he's saying, and give Tasha K the rest. Oh, child. This here is I know it's boring, isn't it? It's boring. It's a little bit boring. Thank you, Alec. All she had to do was shut the F up. Yeah. But some of that news about Cardi B and Stefan and Offset was just too juicy for her. Her husband should have told her to quit talking about that woman. If a judge told me not to say nothing, my husband wouldn't have to tell me a god doggone thing. I'm not saying nothing else. Period. On the dead homies, baby. The personal income and asset diversion scheme. Oh, honey, it's a scheme. In parallel with the Kibi Studio successor scheme, Kibi and the debtor undertook a series of coordinated financial maneuvers designed to render debtors' personal income and assets unavailable to satisfy the personal judgment. They're saying that they schemed together to make personal income and assets unavailable to satisfy the millions of dollars that Cardi B was awarded through the courts. Okay? Tasha K said, you ain't getting shit. The acts were delivered and have been repeatedly admitted under oath across multiple depositions of the Y'all told them y'all did it? Who is your attorney? Because somebody, haven't you heard of I don't recall? I don't recall. I plead the fifth. I'm falling on the mercy of the court. I plead the fifth and I don't recall a god doggone thing. I didn't know what my husband was doing. In fact, he been cheating on me too. He's stealing my money, Your Honor. I didn't know nothing of the sort. You can send him back to Africa if you want to. In August of 2022, right after the amended defamation judgment was entered, Kibi removed debtor as an unauthorized user from a Bank of America. Kibi removed Tasha K as an authorized user from a Bank of America account through which her payroll had been deposited. He has confirmed under oath that this was done expressly to avoid garnishment. I don't think I could have gave him all my damn money. I'd rather take the chance of garnishment. He might take all the money and leave. The debtor asks Kibi to stop paying her directly from that account in order to avoid garnishment, and Kibi complied. He has acknowledged this under oath. Why y'all telling them what y'all did? Less than 1 month after entry of the original defamation judgment, on March of 2022, the debtor transferred her interest in residential real property. Well, we don't want to put all the addresses out there, although they selling it anyway. In real property, okay, delaying and defrauding Cardi B as a judgment creditor of the debtor. Debtor filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy relief May 5th, 2023. The personal judgment has been expressly accepted from discharge in the bankruptcy case. The confirmation order and the bankruptcy case expressly preserve Ms. Cardi B's right to pursue all claims and cause of action against the non-debtor third parties, including defendants herein, and authorize the filing of this action, notwithstanding and stay, discharge, injunction, or other injunction arising from the bankruptcy case in order to preserve a case of action that would otherwise be extinguished by an applicable statute of repose. I thought her husband admitted to moving the money. I think I read that. Cause of action, count 1, actual fraudulent transfer. So they're saying this is the actual fraudulent transfer, honey. Ooh. Go give me a bottle of water. Goodness gracious. Plaintiff alleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 42 as fully set forth herein. Florida statute, there's the statute, provides that a transfer made by a debtor is fraudulent as to a creditor if the debtor made the transfer with an actual intent to hinder, delay, or defraud any creditor. Ms. Cardi B is a creditor of both the debtor and Kibi Studios by virtue of the amended defamation judgment. The amended judgment is a final judgment of a federal court that has not been satisfied, vacated, or discharged. Debtor and Kibi Studios, acting through and in concert with Kibi, made the following transfers with actual intent to hinder, delay, and defraud Cardi B. The transfer of Kibi's business operations, revenue streams, management contracts, going concern, value, and the services of the debtor as talent from Kibi Studios to Yellen, rendering Kibi Studios unable to satisfy the Kibi Studios judgment. The dissolution of Kibi Studios after stripping it of all assets and income generating capacity, leaving it a judgment-proof shell. The transfer of debtor's interest in the Georgia property to Kibi approximately 1 month after entry of the original defamation judgment without consideration, and the diversion of debtor's income earnings through Yellen's accounts and financial structures specifically designed to prevent garnishment by Cardi B. She didn't want Cardi B to garnish her. I wouldn't either. The actual fraudulent intent of each transfer is established by, among other things, the following conspicuous badges of fraud. The transfers were made to and for the benefit of an insider, Kibi's debtor, husband, and business partner. The transfers were made after the jury verdict and concurrent with or shortly after entry of the amended defamation judgment. The transfers were made without reasonably equivalent value. Debtor, Cardi B, and husband studios were insolvent or rendered insolvent by the transfer. They were made broke by transferring all the money. Kibi received uh Kibi received the court's direct warning as Kibi Studios corporate representative not to transfer assets. Why did you do it, Kibi? Damn. Wait, where was I? Shit. Kibi received the court's direct warning. Now, if a judge tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. If I get sued and the judge and we go to court and all I gotta do is shut up, I bet you won't hear me say shit else about. I bet I wouldn't have said Cardi B's name. I'd be like, I don't know, I don't want to talk about that. Moving right along. You can talk about it, but I ain't saying a damn thing. You can bank on that, baby. Danielle says they're working on taking her whole entire platform. Say it ain't so. Taking her whole entire channel and platform down, and it wasn't worth it. Tasha K, you should have took down those false accusations on her. She might go to jail. Looks like no, I don't think she's gonna go to jail. What if they take a platform? Then she won't get no money. Don't take the platform. Let her make the money to pay you. If you take a platform, how you gonna get paid? She's got to be the one on the thing, spinning around on the thing, looking through her glasses, sipping a wine. She's got to be the one to make the money. Her husband can't get on there and do that. You got to leave Tasha K employed so she can make the money, honey. What else? Let's see here. Kibi received the court's direct warning as Kibi Studios' corporate representative not to transfer assets. Defendants have repeatedly admitted under oath that the purpose of the transfers was to avoid garnishment. Why the hell would y'all admit that? And payment of the defamation judgment. Yeelan was formed after entry of the original defamation judgment and prior to entry of the amended. Why did her attorneys let her do that? Why? Defamation judgment and assumed Kibi Studios' entire business without any consideration passing to Kibi Studios. So, let me see. I got a call coming. I'm probably going to have to end this. Hold on, y'all. Okay, let me read a little bit. Let me read a couple more pages. Kibi was not a passive recipient. He actively planned, directed, and executed each of the transfers described herein. Oh my. He was the primary beneficiary of those transfers and admitted under oath both the transfers and their fraudulent purpose. Why would you admit under oath? Damn, that's like an open and shut case. I would have denied it. I would have said, I do not recall. One thing I learned from Donald Trump, you don't ever admit to shit. Don't admit to it. Don't admit. And if you do admit, say somebody done twisted my words. If that's a recording, that's AI. I ain't said shit. Pursuant to the Florida statute, Cardi B is entitled to avoidance of the transfers to the extent necessary to satisfy both the Kibi's judgment and the personal judgment, attached or other provisional remedy against the transferred assets, and injunction against further disposition of the assets or the proceeds thereof, appointment of a receiver, and any other relief the circumstances may require. Oh my goodness. Plaintiff alleges, wait a minute, count 2, constructive fraudulent transfer. Constructive fraudulent transfer. Plaintiff alleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 42 as if fully set forth herein. Florida statute provides that a transfer is fraudulent as to the creditor if debtor made the transfer without receiving a reasonable equivalent value in exchange, and the debtor intended to incur or believe reasonably should have believed that she would incur debts beyond her ability to pay as they became due. This is just too much. Florida statute provides that a transfer is fraudulent as to the creditor whose claim arose before the transfer if the debtor made the transfer without receiving a reasonably equivalent value in exchange. I'm getting tired of reading this. In exchange, and the debtor was insolvent at the time or became insolvent as a result. Cardi B claims arising from the defamation judgment arose prior to each of the transfers described herein. Accordingly, she qualifies as a creditor under both Florida statute and the other one with respect to all transfers. The transfers of Kibi Studios business to Yellen, the transfers of the Georgia property to Kibi, and the diversion of debtors' income through Yellen accounts were each made without the transfer receiving reasonably equivalent value. That's kind of like, didn't P. Diddy have a lot of stuff in his mama name? Yellen paid nothing for the business going concern value and revenue streams it received from Kibi Studios. The husband just got it for free. Kibi paid nothing for the Georgia property interest he received from the debtor. The diversion, so they were just diverting the funds. The diversion of the debtor's income through structured accounts yielded no consideration to the debtor or Kibi Studios. At the time of each transfer, both the debtor and Kibi Studios were insolvent within the meaning of Florida statute, or the transfers rendered them insolvent. The amended defamation judgment, whether pending or entered, constituted an obligation that far exceeded the debtors and Kibi Studios' assets, the available assets. The Kibi Studios judgment also totaled over $2 million, whatever, gazillion dollars, exclusive of post-judgment interest, which had been accruing after the business transferred to Yellen. Kibi Studios had no assets to satisfy any portion of that obligation. Cardi B is entitled to the same remedies as set forth in count 1 above, pursuant to the Florida statute. Count 3, successor liability, mere continuation against Yellen Entertainment LLC. Plaintiff alleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 42. Under Florida law, a successor entity is liable for the debts and obligations of its predecessor. Whether successor is a mere continuation, blah, blah, it's the same stuff. Kibi Studios is the predecessor entity whose judgment obligations Yellen assumed by operation of law and its mere continuation. The judgments totaled, again, almost $3 million. It says here, Yellen serves the same client, of course, Unwind with Tasha K Live. Yellen employers, and she also started something where she'll teach you how to make money. You pay and become. She was only accepting 50 people. I don't know how much she was charging for it. And she had a GoFundMe. I don't know if she still have it. Yellen employs or engaged many of the same independent contractors as Kibi Studios. Kibi Studios ceased operation concurrent with and as a direct result of Yellen's assumption of the business, and Yellen received the entire going concern value of Kibi Studios business without paying any consideration to Kibi Studios, its creditors, or anyone else. The purpose and effect of the dissolution of Kibi Studios and the transfer of the business to Yellen was to allow the defendants to continue operating the identical business while eliminating their liability to the attached Kibi Studios, which owed Cardi, as a result of the amended defamation judgment. Kibi Studios was dissolved with a judgment against it and no assets from which to pay it, because those assets had been fraudulently transferred to Yellen. Magically disappeared. As the mere continuation of Kibi Studios, Yellen is liable for all debts. So they're saying the new business is liable for all of the old business debts and obligations, including Kibi Studios' judgment of around the almost $3 million. Count 4. Alter ego piercing the corporate veil against Chekna Kibi. That's the husband. Chekna. Alter ego. They calling it an alter ego. Woo! Yeah, wow, Alec. Boy, this is a lot. It's a lot. And I'm about tired of reading. The plaintiff realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 42 as if fully set forth herein. Under Florida law, a court may pierce the corporate veil of a limited liability company and hold its members personally liable where the member dominated and controlled the entity to such a degree that it lacked independent existence. The corporate form was used as a device to perpetrate fraud or evade an existing legal obligation, and the plaintiff suffered injury as a result. I'm going to read to page 20 and then we're going to stop, honey, because this thing, woo. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Kibi is the sole member and manager of Yellen. He formed Yellen, capitalized it, controls all of his financial and operational decisions, determines unilaterally how revenue is allocated between himself and Tasha K, and is the exclusive decision maker for all of the business. By his own sworn testimony, he got under oath and admitted it. He decides how much Tasha K is paid and how much he keeps. Yellen maintains no written agreement between the debtor, observes no formalities in connection with the relationships, and operates entirely at his personal discretion. There is no meaningful separation between Kibi and there is no meaningful separation between the two. He over all her money. Yellen was formed and is operated as a legitimate independent enterprise, but as an instrument of the fraudulent scheme described herein. Kibi and Yellen's, I wonder who her attorneys are. Damn. Kibi and Yellen's corporate form to receive the assets and business of Kibi Studios without paying Kibi Studios judgment to hold assets transferred from the debtor, to frustrate the personal judgment, to receive and conceal debtor's earnings, and to render both the Kibi Studios judgment and the personal judgment uncollectible. Yellen is the alter ego of Kibi, not the alter ego. Adherents of the fiction of Yellen's separate legal existence would sanction the admitted fraud described herein and promote manifest injustice. Miss Cardi B is entitled to a judgment piercing Yellen's corporate veil and holding Tasha K personally liable for all, well, Kibi liable for all obligations of Yellen established in this action. So since the husband took all the money and put it in the new business, that's why they suing him, because he's over the new business. So now they want him to pay Tasha K's bill, because they're saying that they got together, came up with a plan, and put everything. I'm putting it in my mama name. Instead of putting it in my mama name, put it in the husband name. That's what they're alleging here. Additionally, the sham nature of Yellen's corporate structure is further evidenced by Kibi's sworn testimony claiming that his brother done got the brother. The brother, you better stay in Africa. Lasana Kibi is a resident of Mali, Africa, and holds 50% membership interest of Yellen, a claim directly contradicted by Yellen's own corporate filings and tax returns, which reflect no such interest. No documents evidencing Lasana Kibi's purported membership interests have been produced in discovery during the course of debtor bankruptcy case. The assertion of an undocumented, unverifiable overseas co-owner appearing for the first time in sworn testimony is unsupported by any corporate record, is consistent with the use of Yellen's corporate form as a personal instrument of C. Kibi rather than as a legitimately organized and maintained business entity. Oh, that was a lot. My. What Unique say? Cardi B is a petty celebrity. I reckon she is, honey. I reckon she is. Count 4, civil conspiracy against all defendants. Conspiracy. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 42 as if fully set forth herein. Under Florida law, a civil conspiracy requires an agreement between 2 or more parties to do an unlawful act or to do a lawful act by unlawful means. The doing of some overt act in pursuance of the conspiracy and damage to the plaintiff as a result. Kibi Yellen, along with the debtor, knowingly agreed and conspired to accomplish the fraudulent scheme designed herein to strip Kibi Studios of its assets and transfer them to Yellen to avoid payment of the Kibi Studios judgment and to divert and conceal debtors' personal income and assets to avoid payment of the personal judgment. The unlawful means employed included the fraudulent transfers described herein, the dissolution of a judgment debtor entity without satisfying its obligations, and the deliberate structure of financial arrangement to frustrate the judicial process. In furtherance of the conspiracy, defendants committed the following overt acts, among others. Kibi formed Yellen within months of the jury verdict. Kibi Studios' business revenue streams and going concern value were transferred to Yellen without consideration. Kibi Studios were dissolved with the Kibi Studios judgment outstanding and unpaid. Debtors' interest in the Georgia property was transferred to Kibi without consideration shortly after entry of the original defamation judgment. Debtor was removed from bank accounts through which her earnings had been deposited. Debtor's payroll and income were rerouted through Yellen in structures designed to prevent garnishment, and no legitimate business justification, written agreement, or consideration was established for any of these transactions. As a direct and proximate result of the conspiracy, Ms. Cardi B has been damaged in an amount sufficient to satisfy both the Kibi judgment of the 2.8 and the personal judgment of the 3. Damn. Is it 6, 7 million now, together with the pre and post judgment interest costs and attorney fees? God, dog. Declaratory relief and constructive trust. Child, I'm gonna stop right there. God, dog. Cardi B, Tasha K, y'all doing too much. Ooh, that's just this is just the filing. That's just 20 of the pages, people. They saying Tasha K husband knowingly and that he testified under oath that he did it. Created a new company so his wife wouldn't have to pay the bill. I don't know. That's what they say. I know it was a little boring reading all this stuff, honey. It was a little boring, wasn't it, y'all? Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I'm tired after reading all that shit. I done got enough reading in for a lifetime. No. Let me stop sharing that. Hopefully it won't did it lock me up? Okay. All right, Alec. Thank you. Okay, y'all. All right. We out of here, honey. Ooh, I'll talk to y'all later. Okay.